Hey, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to go through a step-by-step demonstration of how to draw block capital letter S in 2-point perspective, just like the image that you're seeing right now. This drawing is done in real time and is designed for you to be able to follow along and keep up with me without any problems. Of course, if you need to pause and rewind, that is totally okay. To work with me on this drawing, you'll need 4 things. First, a piece of paper that is 9 by 12 size. Second, a pencil. Third, a ruler, preferably one that is 12 inches long. And fourth, an eraser. So, if you have those 4 things, you're all set and ready to go. Let's discover the rules and power of perspective and draw block capital letter S together. To start my construction of my capital letter S in 2-point perspective, I'll start with this measurement here, 6 inches. Coming here to my upper left-hand corner of my paper, I'm going to come down the side and put a mark right there at 6 inches. I'm going to label that dot VP1, vanishing point 1. Coming over here, upper right hand corner, I'll do the same thing, coming down the side exactly 6 inches, putting a mark right there that touches the edge of my paper, and I'll label that as VP2, vanishing point number 2. Usually I would connect those together and call that my eye level, but that's going to make it awkward and be in my way, so I will do that at the end instead of at the beginning. Next measurement, I'm going to use this one right here, 1.5 inches. So I'm going to come here to my upper right hand corner, and I'm going to go across the top like this, exactly 1.5 inches. Put a little mark right there. Come down here, lower right hand corner, I'll do the same thing. I'll come across the bottom and put a mark right there, 1.5 inches. Line those up with your ruler. And let's go ahead and draw from the top to the bottom, just like that, with a nice vertical line. Okay, next measurements I want to use. I want to use 1 inch and 11 inches. So what I want to do is come here, and I want to measure down this line like this. I'll put a mark right there, 1 inch. Don't move your ruler. And at 11 inches as well, right there. Okay, then I'll take my eraser, and below my mark, I'll erase the section of line like this. And above my mark, I'll erase the section as well. Now that means that this section of line here, from here to here, is 10 inches long. Okay, now I want to divide that line up into 5 equal sections. So I'll use these measurements, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And I'll go ahead, starting here at the top of my 10-inch line, and I'll make a mark at 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches. Okay, I'm going to locate vanishing point number 1. I'll start here at the top. And I'm going to draw from the top of that line towards vanishing point number 1, like that. 2-inch mark, same thing. Vanishing point number 1. 4-inch mark, vanishing point number 1. 6 inches, eight inches, and finally the bottom of my line also drawn towards vanishing point number 1. Okay, very good. And of course, those 5 sections are all nice and equal. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the principle of a measuring line. So the distance from the bottom of my paper to the bottom of this line section is 1 inch. And to be very careful, I'm going to go ahead and measure over here from the lower left corner of my paper up the side 1 inch. Then I'm going to line up the bottom of this line with my 1-inch mark, and I'll draw like this right there. Okay, this line is a temporary line, and we call it a measuring line. So if I have used 2 inches in these sections here, I want to do that again, and I'm going to use, in this case, 2, 4, and 6. I'll start those measurements right here at this location. I'll go across this line to the left, and I'll make a mark every 2 inches. Okay. 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take each of those 3 marks towards vanishing point number 2. So I'll start here with my 6-inch mark. I'll line it up with vanishing point number 2, but notice I'm just going to draw until I hit the bottom of my line right there. Okay, 4-inch mark, vanishing point number 2. Stop once again. And my 2-inch mark, same thing, lined up with vanishing point number 2. And I'll draw until I hit the bottom right there. Okay. Next, where it touches right here, I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to put my ruler on this location so it's nice and vertical. Now this can be a little bit tricky because it's easy to get my ruler crooked, but I do want to be as careful as possible. Ruler nice and straight. When I feel good about that, nice and straight, I'm going to draw a vertical line like that, as you can see. I'll do the same thing right here. Line that up, nice and vertical. Try not to draw crooked. And I'll go ahead and draw that right there. And once more, same thing, be patient. Keep that line nice and straight up and down. And I'll draw like that. Okay, now because I use my measuring line, what it means is that all of my squares, all of my sections here, they're exactly the same size as each other in perspective. Okay, it's time for your eraser. So what I want to do, I'll start here at the top. I'll erase these extra lengths of vanishing point line. It's always a good idea in perspective to draw as light as you can. I'll do that right here as well. And right here. Just getting rid of those extra lengths of line that we're going towards vanishing point number 1. Continuing. And this one as well. All right. As I mentioned, my measuring line was temporary. These locating lines are also temporary. So I'm ready to get rid of those. And right here. And right here as well. And this one too. Okay, notice that I've now set up a grid of squares, 5 squares tall and 3 squares wide. I'm ready for my next step. My next step is to create some additional lines in this grid to construct my S. Okay, so I'm going to start with this square right here, and I'm going to draw a diagonal line from one corner of the square to the other like that. And I'll do it also right here like this. Coming down here to the bottom, I will go in this direction. Like that. And in this square, I will go this direction like this. Finding my eraser once again, I'm now going to erase like this. I'm erasing in the 4 corners. Like that. I'll come up here to the top, get rid of this one and this one. and this one. Okay, now it looks like a 0 or an O. Let's continue and draw a couple other diagonal lines. In this square right here, I'll go like this, diagonal from one corner of the square to the other, like that. And I'll do the same thing to this square right here. And I'll draw like this. Okay. With my eraser, I'll erase this section of my line right here. And I'll erase this section right there. All right, next measurement I need to use. Nice and easy, 1 inch. So I know the distance from here to here is 2 inches. I want to put a mark in the middle of that. So that's going to be 1 inch right there. Then I'm going to take that mark, I'm going to line it up with vanishing point number 1, and I'm going to draw a short distance just right here and stop. Just like that. I'll take my eraser and I'll erase that section, this one, and this one. Okay, very good. Once again, it's 2 inches from here to here. I'll do the same thing. I'll put a mark in the middle of that at 1 inch. Okay, now notice what I do this time. I've got my mark, and I'll line it up with vanishing point number 1. But this time I'm going to draw right here in this location. Stop. I'll move my ruler so you can see. Grab my eraser. I'll erase section 1, 2, and 3. All right. Now, if you look carefully, you can now see the shape of that S. But having these grid lines inside my shape makes it confusing. So I'm going to go ahead and take a minute and I'll erase all the lines on the inside. So I'm just left with the outside edge. And that'll make this S easier to understand, easier to see, and easier to work with. Now hopefully it takes you about as long to erase as it does for me. And we want to stay with each other. Don't want to lose you as we construct our S. Continuing with my eraser. Once again, all the grid lines on the inside of the shape I'm getting rid of. And if you are drawing light, that is, of course, a good thing whenever working in perspective. Okay, and this is the shape of our S that we want to work with. All right, now let's continue and let's use vanishing point number 2 to make this S look three-dimensional. So I'm going to start right here in this location. I'm going to line up with vanishing point number 2, and I'll draw towards it like that. Second location right here, this corner. I'll draw towards vanishing point number 2 like that. This is my next spot right here. And all these lines are drawn towards vanishing point number 2, which is, of course, a rule of perspective. Here's my next location right here. And that rule of perspective is that all the depth lines converge on a vanishing point, like that. Okay, then I'm going to be right here, lined up with vanishing point number 2, like that. Okay, continuing, here's my next location. Vanishing point number 2. Coming down here, I'm going to be right here. Vanishing point number 2. Okay, then I'm going to come into this area here. I'll start right here. I'll line that up with vanishing point number 2. Stop, however, when you hit the underside of your S right there. Don't draw any further than that. Continuing. Vanishing point number 2, like that. And one more time. Stop when you hit the side of your S right there. Okay, now take a look at that. Starting to look very three-dimensional. All right, let's continue. Let's give you another measurement. And let's use 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to come to this location right here, this corner of our S. We want to measure straight out to the right, not up this line, but straight out to the right, exactly 1/4 of an inch. So I'll go out to the right, 1/4, and I'll put a little dot right there. Okay, I want to do the same thing here at this corner here. I'm going to go straight out to the right, like this, 1/4 of an inch, and I'll put a little dot right there. Okay, now line those up with your ruler. Don't connect them together. Line them up. Nice straight ruler. Pay close attention. I'm going to draw 2 lines. One right here, stop. And right here, and stop. Okay, let me move my ruler so you can see where I put those lines. Okay, and that gives us the thickness of our S. Okay, now with my eraser, I'm going to clean up these lines going towards my vanishing point that are now too long, like this. Okay, got those, and I'll get rid of these 2 as well, like that, and like this. All right, now let's continue, and let's use our vanishing point, but this time we're going to use vanishing point number 1. So from this corner right here, I'm going to line up with vanishing point number 1 like this, and I'm going to draw towards it, stopping right there. Okay, very good. I'll take my eraser and I'll erase. Okay, now right here, here's what I need to do. From this corner, I need to draw a slanted line that is even and parallel with this one here. So what I like to do is I like to put my ruler on that slanted line, then gently and evenly I like to move it away like this. Check my ruler, make sure it's even and parallel. And when I feel good about that, I'm going to draw a slanted line right there. that is even and parallel with this one. And I'll move my ruler so you can see that. Okay, then I'm going to erase this section right here. All right, that's looking very good. Now, as you can probably tell, somewhere in this area here, I need to draw a vertical line. But the question is, where should I draw it? And the answer to that is, we must use a rule of perspective. We cannot guess. And what we need to do is we need to draw part of our S in this area so that it is see-through in order to help us find that vertical line. So I'm going to switch over to a red pencil so you can clearly see what I'm going to do right here. So what I want to do is take this corner right here and line it up with vanishing point number 1. Okay, now I'm going to draw from that corner, and I'll just stop right there when I hit that side of my S. I don't need to go any further than that. Okay, then I need to take this location right here and line it up with vanishing point number 2 like this. And I'll draw. Now I'm drawing this line longer than I need it to be, but you can see it's going towards vanishing point number 2. Now, what I'm looking for is this. I'm looking for this exact spot where the lines cross each other right there. And I'm going to put a dot right where those lines cross. Okay, right there. That was the spot I'm looking for, and that tells me where to draw a vertical line. Actually, I want to draw 2 vertical lines. So I'm going to put my ruler on that dot. I'm going to make sure my ruler is nice and straight vertical like this. And I'm going to draw one line right here. Stop, don't move your ruler. Come down here and put another vertical line right there. Stop, right there. Now let me move my ruler so you can see. Okay, and that gives us the thickness of that part of our S. Okay, with my eraser, I'm now going to erase this extra length of vanishing point line like this. All right. Okay, then from that spot right there, I'm going to line that up with vanishing point number 1. And I'll draw away from it right there. Stop. And notice how this part of your S is all complete. Okay, let's finish off the bottom here. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my eraser and erase this extra length. And I'm also going to erase this extra length. Okay, from this spot here, I'm going to draw towards vanishing point number 1, like this. Stop right there. Okay, grab your eraser, clean that up. And let's finish off right here. I'll line that up with vanishing point number 1. And I'll draw right there. Okay, and there it is, your S in 2-point perspective. Now, here at the end, we can't forget, let's line up our 2 vanishing points together like this. And let's draw our eye level line. So I'll draw from the side of my paper until I hit the side of my S. Stop. Don't move your ruler. And let's draw one more section right there. Okay, there you go. There's an S in 2-point perspective. So there you go. How did yours turn out? Do you see how you're like a magician with the pencil? Your paper is flat, but it looks like the S is occupying space, like it's real and three-dimensional. The S has height, width, and most importantly, depth. Did you understand how we divided space along the far right vertical line every 2 inches to find the height of our grid squares? And then we used the horizontal measuring line to find the width of the squares in perspective. That is an advanced perspective principle. Feel free to review it if you need to. The correct application of these principles is what we call the power of perspective. The power of perspective is what Stan Lee called these principles in his awesome book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. Thanks again for watching and drawing. I hope you had a good time and that you learned something. I hope to see you again someday back on my channel. Have a great day, and don't forget to keep on drawing.